We begin by telling you that the All Progressives Congress has suspended the Minister of State, Petroleum Resources for Oil, Heineken Lokpobiri, and the party's 2019 governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, David Leon, for alleged anti-party activities. The suspension extends to the State Commissioner for Power, Karim Kumoko, Commissioner for Lands and Survey, Perez Biewari, former APC State Chairman, Jothan Amos, an ex-official member of the National Executive Council, God bless Diriwari, and Southern Ijaw APC youth leader, Sabi Morgan. Our party stakeholder and APC chairman, Ward 3, Southern Ijaw, Omiebi Fuibi, including all ward executive members, as well as the APC Ward 4, Southern Ijaw, Claudius Odobu, and all the ward executive members were all suspended by the party. The crisis within the People's Democratic Party intensified on Friday as the Integrity faction announced the appointment of Yayari Ahmed Mohammed as the new acting national chairman. Earlier on Friday, the PDP's National Working Committee, led by acting national chairman Umar Damagum, suspended National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade SAN and the National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologunagba, accusing them of anti-party activities. In a swift turn of events, another faction within the NWC, in a statement issued by Ologunagba, announced the suspension of Damagum and the National Secretary Sam Anyanwu for similar reasons. Ologunagba, speaking on behalf of the Integrity Group, stated that Mohammed's appointment as acting national chairman is effective immediately, in line with the PDP's amended constitution of 2017. In the meantime, the Federal High Court in Abuja has issued an order preventing the National Executive Committee and the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party from removing Umar Damagum as the acting national chairman of the party. Justice Peter Lifu ruled that only Damagum should be recognized as the party's national chairman until the PDP's National Convention, scheduled for December 2025. This ruling came in response to a suit filed by the Senator Omar Al-Gashmina. The judge emphasized that according to Articles 42, 47, and 67 of the PDP's constitution, national officers can only be elected at the party's national convention. He added that all party members are required to adhere to the constitution in their actions. Earlier on the news, the acting national legal advisor of the People's Democratic Party, Osoha Okechukwu, gave more insights on this. We apologize that we're not able to bring you that audio clip, but then we move on to tell you that Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has sworn in 15 members of the People's Democratic Party who were declared winners of the October 9, 2024 local government chairmanship election in the state. After administering the oath of office, the governor urged them not to betray the trust the people of Plateau have placed in them, but to work together for the advancement of the state. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe brings us more details. Well, we'll bring you that particular report in our subsequent bulletins. Then, Kogi State Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Famwo, said the current administration of Governor Usman Ododo is a cost-cutting one. In an exclusive chat with News Central Television, he confirmed that frivolous purchases and allowances, particularly in regard to political appointees, have been scrapped.
Commissioner, in January this year, and up till now, the governor has not given me an official vehicle. And he told us, I don't have an official vehicle from this administration. And, you know, he made it point clear that, look, it is not going to be about the welfare of the people who have appointed to serve. It is going to be about the welfare of the people who have hired him with their votes to serve them. So that is one of the areas in which you cut costs. You can imagine buying Prado Jeeps for 21 commissioners, for many director generals, many special advisors, many senior special assistants, many GMs. It runs into billions of naira. So instead of putting that money there,
He also described the relationship between the current governor and the immediate past governor, Yahaya Bello, as cordial and law-abiding despite allegations of fraud leveled against the latter by the EFCC.
The former governor of the state. I speak for the government of Kogi State, and what I would say is that the governor of the state is a law-abiding leader. He's someone who believes so much in the rule of law and constitutionalism. And even what happened, and people got talking about it. You said you were looking for someone, and the governor said, "Oh, it's not a problem," and he drove him to that place and said, "Okay, this is the man that you said you want to see," and they said, "Okay, he should go." That later they will call him whenever they need him, only for a few hours later to take rifles to the official residence of the governor. That place is not the residence of Yahaya Bello. It is the residence of the governor of Kogi State. He took rifles there, surrounded the place, and started shooting sporadically. Things should be done in accordance with the rule of law.
Earlier on the news, we told you that Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has sworn in 15 members of the People's Democratic Party who were declared winners in the October 9 local government chairmanship election in the state. We have the reports even as it was put together by Chizoba Anyowe.
Voting and collation of results took place and concluded on October 9 across the 17 local council areas of Plateau State. It was the first time such an election was held on a weekday. 24 hours later, the election results began to trickle in amid tight security at the Plasiek head office. With the announcement of winners in 3 separate batches of 10, 5, and 2, it was time for them to take the oath of office officiated by Governor Caleb Mutfwang.
I am committed to making sure that the local government system not only remains, but becomes stronger and more effective. I therefore welcome you on board to join me in leading Plateau State to a new level. That together we will join hands and work for the benefit of our people. We are going to ensure that you have a peer review mechanism that challenges you to give your best. And I can assure the people of Plateau State that we are not going to allow the local governments to be shortchanged.
Pledging to contribute to the development of the state from the grassroots was the newly sworn-in chairman of Wase local government area, who spoke on behalf of his colleagues.
We continue to thank everybody within the state and call for peaceful coexistence within the 17 local government. And we pledge our allegiance to cooperate to give the state government the vital cooperation needed for us to move Plateau State forward.
It was past 9 p.m., but the people of Plateau defied the time to show their support and solidarity. The returning officer for the 17 local government areas, Planji Chishak, expressed satisfaction with the outcome of the October 9 election and promised improvements in future polls. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
Away from politics, the federal government of Nigeria has granted petroleum marketers the authorization to lift petrol directly from the Dangote refinery, bypassing the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. This update was provided by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, who also serves as chairman of the Naira Crude Sale Implementation Committee. Edun explained that this new arrangement allows marketers to negotiate directly with the refinery, which is expected to foster a more competitive market and streamline the supply of petroleum products. He also expressed confidence that these measures would improve market conditions, ultimately benefiting all Nigerians in the long run. In the meantime, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has resolved its dispute with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited following a meeting with the Director of the Department of State Services, Adeola Ajayi. This was disclosed by the National PRO and spokesperson for Ipman, Chinedu Ukadike, in an interview with News Central Television. The dispute arose due to the high cost of premium motor spirits sold to Ipman members by NNPCL. Previously, Ipman had threatened to halt operations nationwide. However, with the resolution, Dangote will now supply independent marketers through Ipman. The association has agreed to await the implementation of the signed resolutions, thereby averting a potential strike.
DSS yesterday intervened, and we reached a conclusion, and some measures are going to take place. He has also resolved that Dangote is going to sell to us independent marketers. He has also resolved that NNPCL will load us out all our tickets that is in their system, so that we can be able to buy from anywhere we want to also buy. He also went out for that to resolve the issue of our money that has been hanging in the Petroleum Equalization Fund, and the head of NNDPR graciously approved the sum of 10 billion naira to be able to pay the outstanding. These are the things that have been lingering for a very period of time. And
all right.
The director of within just 3 hours resolved most of this. So we're no longer going on strike, but we are watching for the implementation of all that we have agreed upon.
To improve policy making, infrastructure development and transformation in Nigeria and Africa, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group is emphasizing the significance of stakeholder participation. The theme of the 30th Nigerian Economic Summit is collaborative action for growth, competitiveness, and stability, which aims to encourage stakeholder engagement. The theme will encourage dialogue among key stakeholders to explore cooperative opportunities for growth, competitiveness, and stability. The summit seeks to showcase Nigeria's leadership in driving the continent's transformation and to create opportunities for both present and future generations. We go on a quick break, and when we return, we will tell you federal government says O-level examinations not affected by age limit for students. We'll bring you more details when we return. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Girl rights advocates have called on citizens to ensure that girls in Nigeria are given the right conditions to thrive in the country. This was as the She Forum Africa held an adolescent town hall and mentorship day session in Abuja in commemoration of the 2024 International Day of the Girl Child. News Central's Joshua Emerai reports.
The event is organized to mark the 2024 International Day of the Girl Child by the She Forum Africa. The session saw the convergence of girls from the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory. Girl Child advocates at the event called on government and relevant stakeholders to create an enabling environment by strengthening institutions to enable the girl child achieve their full potentials.
What we're saying is girls' dreams and aspirations are as much of a priority as that of the boys. Girls represent a key and central factor in growth and development processes, and so they have to be harnessed early, they have to be groomed early, they have to be supported early to reach their full potential.
We continue to make advocacies to government to create an enabling environment by strengthening institutions to accommodate you and your peculiarities. We will continue to tell the public to accept you and give you opportunities that are yours.
I think that if every sector in Nigeria actually focuses on investing on the girl child within and without her family, in her schools, in her communities, we end up investing in families, and we make sure that our female gender can contribute to the nation.
Others in attendance encouraged girls to aim for leadership position and follow their aspirations.
Every girl is unique, and they should have a very safe and conducive environment to thrive and to realize their potentialities. Not even potentialities, their full potentialities as members of the society.
We want girls to have a vision to be anything that they want to be, and they can do it, and to also work towards it.
Advocates at the event say empowering Nigeria's girl child requires concerted effort to address systemic gaps in education, mentorship, and provision of adequate resources to foster an inclusive environment for growth. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Well, to discuss the significance of the day, we are joined by the convener, Managing Director, Strap and Safe Child Foundation, Bolanle Edwards. Thank you so much, Bolanle, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So when we say girls in Nigeria should be given the right conditions to thrive, contextually, what does that mean and how important is that for them?
Really, what that means is that you are harnessing the potential of a girl child for future aspirations. You are giving the girl child a listening ear. You're speaking with the child. You're mentoring that child, that girl child, and also guiding her through life generally. So that's what that means.
But then what are the most pressing challenges faced by girls, especially in Nigeria, from what you have observed so far? And how do you think these issues can be addressed?
Right. The first is you have gender inequality, which is very big. The gender equality is still pretty much an issue and a challenge in this part of the climb, where a girl would go for a job and rather consider a guy first before a girl. And secondly, you have child marriage, which is still very predominant in the northern parts of Nigeria. That's still very much happening now. Limited access to education as well is a very challenging issue that we still have to address in Nigeria. And of course, the very last one is gender-based violence. The gender-based violence cannot be overemphasized here because it's a daily occurrence in Nigeria and in Lagos State, for that matter, where we all reside here. We hear cases of women, ladies, girls being battered daily for one issue or the other.
We're going to talk about the GBV, but then let's look at the issue around education and how we need to empower the girl child. Are there specific initiatives you believe can be implemented to actually improve access to quality education for the girl child? Because we have the rural areas, we have the urban areas, we have conflict zones, but then there's a need for us to scale those hurdles. So how do you think we can go about that?
We have to address societal and cultural issues. Very important, because it's not everybody that is in the urban area, just like you said. Very important. We have to enroll them and also retain education, sensitization, and information as well goes hand in hand when it comes to addressing these challenges. We have girls in the rural areas who are not even privy to education or to information, and they're living more or less in the dark and under the rug. So when such things happen to them, they feel like it's normal, it's as usual, and it has come to stay. But when we have an holistic approach whereby we have both the urban girl and the rural girl having the same information being passed on to them, they're empowered and they also have the power to say no when it's time to say no and yes when it's time to say yes. Very important. So you have to keep enrolling them and retain and sensitize. Very important.
All right. So one debilitating issue that you mentioned earlier that the girl child constantly deals with is the gender-based violence. So how can we prevent and in some instances, as quickly as possible as we can, respond to GBV against girls in Nigeria, ensuring that survivors have access to justice and, of course, support services?
Well, I would say that it's very important that you and I are involved because we are all stakeholders. We can't leave this to the government alone. Very important. So first off, personally, let's individualize this challenge. Let's take it on and say, you know what? I'm going to be part of this. Let one person have a one-on-one conversation and mentoring session with a girl child. Very important, because you cannot give what you do not have. Very important to do that. Then you must advocate for the rights and support of a girl child. Very, very important that you support them. Organizations also who are involved in doing such, who are into girl child empowerment should also, help by funding. Funding, very key. the only way you can get this information across is to make sure that it's well funded. And of course, this comes with a lot of baggage, as it were. There's going to be training involved. There's going to be materials and resources and all of that that's going to be involved doing this. Very important. And of course, promote positive mindsets and remove that stereotype. The stereotype mindset whereby people or children are conditioned to thinking that, well, I'm a girl after all. I can always take the back burner. After all, I'm going to end up in the kitchen at the end of the day. I don't have a say in the organization decision making, and things like that. The stereotype thinking must, let go. Government must be involved. We're all stakeholders, parents, schools, teachers, guardians, and of course the media as well, because you have a bigger job to do.
Yes, sorry to just come in, but then we still have, some inhibitions along religious and cultural lines, because you talked about stigmatization or stereotypes, so to speak. And some people are more embraced or attuned to probably cultural or religious dictates. The things you've mentioned, would they be enough to actually, deal with those two areas?
Well, we can start from somewhere. Let's take our baby steps. According to UNESCO, we have over 132 million girl child that is uneducated. I don't have the statistics for Nigeria, but I know it's very alarming as well. If we take the portion that we have, the statistics in this part of the climate in Nigeria, and we begin to address this issue of differential in cultural background, socio-cultural background, I think there's so much that we can do to avert a girl ending up being violated or being abused, as it were. Very important that every child is armed with information. And in a case whereby the society or the cultural values do not even allow that or encourage that, we'll just keep talking about it. You can't stop talking about it. Keep talking about it. Keep sensitizing and informing them, because I know in that part of the climate in Nigeria, in the northern part, it's still a challenge for a lot of these girls to attend schools, normal school, or have a basic education.
Okay.
They would rather give them out to marriage under the age of 18, and life just stops at that. So, like I said earlier on that, yes, the cultural differences will be there. The society will forever be there. But we cannot fold our hands and say that there's nothing we can. Everybody should just put on, let's put on our gloves and
get to work
at it.
All right.
Yes, get to work.
All right, Balani Edwards, thank you so much for your time. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on now, human rights advocates in Nigeria have called on the federal government to review the use of the death penalty as a punishment for offenders of capital crimes. They say that no evidence shows that the death penalty is a deterrent to crime, thus the need for governments to abolish it from the nation's laws. Our correspondent, Edom Joseph, completes the reports.
The global trend towards abolishing capital punishments has continued to grow as more nations have recognized the flaws in the death penalty system in the last few years. In 2021, Sierra Leone in the West African sub-region took the bold step to abolish the death penalty system, followed by the Central African Republic and Zambia in 2022, and then Ghana in 2023. With no execution of inmates on death row in Nigeria since 2016, there are concerns among advocates about the number of those on death row across custodial centers in the country.
And we also know that in Nigeria, we have over 3,600 persons on death row. And this actually accounts for the highest number of persons on death row in Africa, and particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. This is a problem.
In Africa, only about 15 countries are left that have not abolished the death penalty, including Nigeria. And in those 15 countries, Nigeria has the highest number.
While the absence of execution for almost 2 decades in Nigeria is seen as a commendable stride by several international partners, notably Australia and France, They are calling on countries globally to abolish the death penalty system.
Australia opposes the death penalty in all circumstances for all people. We call for the abolition of the death penalty worldwide.
Being one of the largest and most influential country in this continent, Nigeria would have been and would set a strong example for the rest of the continent, but for the rest of the world as well.
The National Human Rights Commission and the Nigerian Bar Association on their part pledged their commitment to continue supporting the cause for the abolition of the death penalty in the country.
The National Human Rights Commission is steadfast in its commitment to advocating for the abolition of death penalty in Nigeria.
The NBA will continue to push for reforms that promote fair trials and humane sentences.
In commemoration of the World Day Against the Death Penalty, the Advocates Sans Frontiers, the National Human Rights Commission, and several other partners are hoping that this high-level technical dialogue will review the use of the death penalty and recommend alternatives to the government. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Now to health matters, the Lagos State government has urged all organizations to include employment assistance programs called EAP to tackle employees' mental health issue in order to enhance employees' overall performance at an event organized by the State Ministry of Health with the theme Prioritizing Mental Health at the Workplace. Mental health experts believe the EAP program will encourage employee engagement and workers' productivity. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more.
In Nigeria, 1 in 10 persons will have a mental health disorder, while 1 in 5 persons will have such mental health disorder at the workplace, according to the country's Ministry of Health. Prioritizing mental health at the workplace remains a critical issue, but yet neglected. In a bid to address mental health issues, particularly at workplaces, Lagos State Government, through its Ministry of Health, at its World Mental Health Day conference, emphasized the pivotal need for employment assistance programs.
We actually do have programs. Now we've expanded the programs, and it's not just Lagos State making policies and all that. It's also for individuals, and also going out there to let other organizations that are not government be aware that you really do have to help your employees when it comes to their mental health, so that you can have productivity, increased productivity, and healthy people. Healthy people make a better workplace. So that's what it's all about, basically.
We're going to work on how to bring that out as a policy for government, and we will outline all the steps, the responsibilities of the employer, the responsibilities of the employee, and find leaders, champions amongst the employees that will help drive it. And then when we sit with the HOS and we decide how it will work service-wide in Lagos, this is something we will then cascade to the private sector and also monitor to ensure that the private sector is also implementing it.
The Employee Assistance Program, EAP, is a document provided by the employer for the employees to address the challenge posed by mental health issues and alleviate workplace stress. However, mental health professionals believe all forms of stigmatization must be eradicated, especially at the workplace, if employee assistance programs must work effectively.
Stigma, ignorance and discrimination have been around for the longest time. Unfortunately, what it does is that it prevents people from seeking help. It prevents people from speaking out and from getting the help that they very much need. Of course, we may think that it is only the person who has the illness that suffers, but at the end of the day, we all suffer. As to whether or not we do something about it or we are directly or indirectly impacted. And so it's time that people start to prioritize their mental health.
While launching a part of the EAP, the Lagos State government urged everyone to make use of the mental health helpline, as this will help gain more access to mental health services in the state.
When you talk to a healthcare professional who knows your background, who knows your context, you have better access to kind of therapy that you need. So part of the things we're trying to do with the new smart number is also be able to allow for more people to be able to provide licensed counseling to those who will need support across the country, across the nation.
According to experts, mental health issue is not just a personal but a societal issue. Hence the need for stakeholders to provide practical solutions to address this menace, as there is no health without mental health. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
The project Growth Africa has commenced the establishment of safe space clubs for young adolescents in a bid to help build their confidence, achieve their full potentials, and provide a safe space while they are in school so that they can discuss their challenges. This was as they visited the Paduma Junior Secondary School in Abuja, where they say there is a need provide support. There's a need for a provision of support for the children as they navigate the challenges of growing up. Amadin Uyi tells us more in this report.
It was an opportunity to interact and encourage the students of the Paduma Junior Secondary School in Abuja. Organizers of the event say the purpose is to reorientate the minds of these young children and help them reach their full potentials.
This event is very important for the kids. In as much as we're raising future leaders, we need leaders who can put their emotions in check. We need leaders who can, create the right scenarios for them, whatever comes their way, because life is going to throw so many things at you.
Our desire is to see our students being well enlightened so that their mental health and hygiene would actually be what would help them to be balanced. We desire to see them thinking well and having right frame of mind.
The event for today, which is Raising Heroes, is specifically for community school across the length and breadth of Africa, starting with Abuja, which is my hometown.
They say the project is to create a conducive and safe environment for the children to develop and build their careers from a young age. It also provides a pillar of support for them as they face the challenges of life.
We believe in catching the children young, and hence the reason why we came out to Paduma Junior Secondary School today to help create a club called Safe Space Club, where the children can come into an environment where they can have conversations about any and everything, from their mental health to their emotional health to their physical health to what they're facing in the classrooms to what they're facing at home.
This program has opened and planted that seed in their minds, and I'm very happy and excited that a club has been formed for this, and I can't wait to see how these kids develop and just become great future leaders and have great careers.
The reception we've actually received here is quite awesome. The support from the teachers, the principal, I can't thank him enough, and it has been quite very effective for us. The kids are quite happy, and possibly, maybe they might not have experienced this before, but having us to bring this to them is very fulfilling, all right, for us, and I can actually call this a success.
These kids are not just growing alone. They are now growing with the mindset of we have people to protect us, we have people to see us, we have people to help us, we have people to listen to us.
The project, also known as the Project Growth Africa, is being implemented by the Safe Space for Corporate Ladies non-governmental organization aimed at helping develop Nigerian children. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Still talking education, Nigeria's federal government says that the 18-year age limit for entry into universities in the country, which has sparked nationwide controversies, eliciting diverse reactions in the last few months, will not be affecting students participating in WAEC, NECO and NAPTEB examinations or any ordinary level examinations holding in the country. Nigeria's Minister of Education made this known during the 68th National Council on Education meeting holding in the nation's capital, Abuja, saying that government intends to develop a guideline that will not deny exceptionally gifted and brilliant students any opportunity to get into universities in the country.
It was clarified many times. I said, look, we are only drawing attention to what is in the acts, those acts that I mentioned earlier on, but it doesn't, apply to those who want to do NECO, WASC, and other all-level examination, basic all-level examination. You can do that if circumstances permit, if you are 15. But the only thing is that the admission for university will be 18. You know, all universities, all countries have a provision for exceptional talents. So we are going to look at how we are going to harvest exceptional talents so that they can be individually, separately provided.
In Lagos, we tell you that there was a coordination effort from multiple rescue agencies to free a truck driver trapped in his vehicle after a crash in Alausa, Ikeja. The truck, while navigating a bend at a traffic light, lost control and toppled, pinning the driver against a light pole. Bernard Akedi has the details.
Trapped in the wreckage of his fallen truck, the driver's desperate cries for help echoed as rescue workers fought to free him. The truck, having tipped over onto its side, was wedged tightly against a street light, pinning the driver to his seat. Rescue teams led by the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, worked tirelessly to carefully cut through the twisted metal while ensuring the driver remained as safe as possible during the extraction. Concerned bystanders, some recording the scene on their phones, watched anxiously as the joint efforts of LASEMA, the Lagos State Fire Service, and other emergency responders unfolded under the supervision of the LASEMA Director General, Dr. Femi Okeosointolu. After more than an hour of meticulous work, the driver was finally freed from the wreckage and immediately placed on a stretcher. He was rushed to a nearby hospital for further medical attention.
A gentleman was trapped inside the vehicle, and you can see how we use the combined team to resuscitate him, to save him from the scene. And they are receiving, and he's going to receive adequate treatment. Thank you.
All right, sir. Can you break down what caused that accident?
We don't really know. We will carry out holistic investigations before we go ahead. But you can see that our response was swift, prompt, effective, and efficient.
The news continues in West Africa, where Senegal's top constitutional body has cleared Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko to run in the upcoming parliamentary elections, rejecting an appeal by an opposition coalition that sought to block his candidacy. The Takuwalu Senegal coalition, led by former President Macky Sall, argued that Sonko was ineligible to run due to his June 2023 conviction in absentia, which sentenced him to 2 years in prison for corrupting the youth. However, in a decision released late on Thursday, the Constitutional Council dismissed the appeal as inadmissible. Senegal will head to the polls on November 17 to elect a new parliament following President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's decision to dissolve the opposition-led National Assembly in September. The elections come after a tense 3-year standoff between Sonko and Sall, which led to dozens of deaths. Guinea's military junta leader, General Mamadi Doumbouya, has banned ministers from traveling abroad without his approval and ordered all officials currently outside the country to return. The announcement was made by government spokesman Ousmane Goual Diallo, who explained that the move is aimed at reducing public spending. Diallo stated that the measure will enhance government efficiency and ensure better management of the state's resources. The directive, issued on Thursday, takes immediate effect and will remain in place until the end of the year. General Doumbouya, who seized power in a coup in September 2021, initially committed to returning Guinea to civilian rule by the end of 2024. However, the junta has since indicated that it will not meet this deadline. And elsewhere, the South African BDS coalition says it is appalled by the UK government's imposition of last-minute visa restrictions on Mandla Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, who was scheduled to embark on a Palestinian solidarity tour of Britain, condemning what they described as the Israeli genocide. The South African BDS coalition claims Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government is giving in to pressure from the pro-Israel lobby and succumbing to a smear campaign by the British mainstream media against Mandla Mandela, a former ANC Member of Parliament and staunch Palestine solidarity activist. In the House of Commons, Starmer refused to commit to halting the sale of weapons to Israel. Outside of Africa, we tell you that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned China on Friday against taking any provocative action on Taiwan after Beijing lashed out over an annual speech by the self-governing democracy's leader. Following an East Asia summit, Blinken termed Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's resolve to resist annexation a regular exercise while speaking in Laos. Blinken, while speaking to reporters, says China should not use it in any fashion as a pretext for provocative actions.
With regard to the so-called 10-10 speech, which is a regular exercise, China should not use it in any fashion as a pretext for provocative actions. On the contrary, we want to reinforce, and many other countries want to reinforce, the imperative of preserving the status quo, and neither party taking any actions that might undermine it.
Kenya's President William Ruto has pledged to send an additional 600 officers to support the UN-backed mission in Haiti. This commitment was made following a meeting with Haiti's Prime Minister, who is currently visiting Kenya. Both leaders have called on the international community to increase their support for the mission, which has been struggling due to a severe funding shortage. Ruto emphasized the urgency of global backing, stressing the need for immediate action to stabilize Haiti. The Prime Minister's visit comes just a week after a brutal gang attack in the town of Port Sunday, located about 100 kilometers from the capital, Port-au-Prince. The assault left 109 people dead and 40 others wounded.
I am pleased to announce that an additional 600 Kenyan police officers are completing their pre-deployment training and will be ready for duty next month. Our officers are working closely with the Haitian National Police to restore order.
Talking business, it's the third and last day of the African Monetary and Economic Sovereignty Conference in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And as the conference winds down, discussions and debates are shifting to the need for Africa to de-dollarize. Sharing his perspectives on the subject matter, Dr. Hippolyte Fofag condemned the international financial system while maintaining that for Africa to de-dollarize, it must first achieve monetary sovereignty, which is a precursor to economic sovereignty.
The IFS exposed African countries to recurrent balance of payment crisis, debt crisis, which are, in my view, an inevitable outcome of the long-term deterioration of commodity terms of trade, the growth-crushing borrowing rate, and balance of payment constraint imposed by dollar funding. UN Secretary General once remarked that realizing Africa's potential requires overcoming a series of challenges. Chief among them, he said, is the dysfunctional and unfair global financial system that denies many African countries the debt relief and consumer financing that they need. I once asked an IMF colleague that what would happen to Italy if instead of paying 2% on their debt, they were paying 10% or 15% like an African country. His answer was clear: Italy would default. In essence, monetary integration has become the necessary conditions for effective sovereignty and development in Africa. Besides its huge economic benefit, most notably macroeconomic stability, reduced opportunity cost of precautionary reserve holding, it also has the potential to accelerate implementation of the AFC.
In sports, the Nigeria Table Tennis Federation has started the process of building a new national team with the selection of teenage players for the 2024 African Championships. The national team is currently dominated by players who are on the other side of 30, And according to the NTTF, now is the right time to start preparing for the replacements. The 10-member squad announced by the NTTF ahead of the 2024 ITTF African Championships is dominated by 6 teenagers, some who will be attending a championship outside the country for the first time. Amongst them are promising young talents like Matthew Kuti, Muiz Adegoke, Abdulbasit Abdulfatai, Aishat Rabiu, Hope Udoaka, and Aziza Sezwo. NTTF Vice President Tayo Adesoji explained that including junior players is part of the Federation's strategy to expose them to top-class competition early. The 2024 ITTF African Championships will take place in Addis Ababa from October 12 to 19. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we look at our top stories again. Court has barred PDP National Exco's Board of Trustees from sacking Damagum as acting national chairman. UK government has slapped visa ban on Nelson Mandela's grandson. We also told you that Kenya's president has pledged to deploy additional 600 officers to support UN-backed mission in Haiti. Or you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.